Welcome to the Western world's housing crisis. The slow-motion car crash we all live in, but nobody can escape. You can't afford to buy, you can't afford to rent, and ownership, well, for most of us, it means a drawer of IKEA hex keys, a toaster that survived college, and maybe a stainless steel water bottle you pretend is your personality. Housing isn't just shelter anymore. It's a speculative asset, a casino chip in an economy where the house always wins, and you are not the house. Politicians hold press conferences, investors pop champagne, and you're paying $3,000 a month to live in what your grandmother called a starter closet. Let's break down how we got here, how it's breaking people, what governments are pretending to do, and how places like Singapore show there's a different way. I'm Jack, and this is Timeless Headlines.
And now for something completely different.
I'll keep tonight.
You're warm. You're red hot.
We'll start with the numbers, and as you could imagine, they're pretty abysmal. According to the OECD, house prices in many countries have risen 20 to 70% in real terms from 2010 to 2022. All the while, wages have barely budged. In Germany, rents in major cities climbed 50% between 2010 and 2022. Lower income renters spend 40% or more of their income on rent alone, while higher income households spend closer to 20%. And what about the UK? House prices have quadrupled since the late 1990s, while wages have only doubled in the same time. Economists say prices would need to fall 60% to restore 1990s affordability, which would thereby result in the biggest housing crash in United Kingdom history. And in the Netherlands,
there are only two things I can't stand in this world. People who are intolerant of other people's cultures, and the Dutch.
There's already a shortage of 400,000 homes, which is projected to balloon to 450,000 by 2027. Now, let's look at Australia, which has become one of the least affordable countries in the developed world. Nationwide, the median home price is about 9.7 times the average income, meaning you'd need to make about 10 years worth of wages in order to buy a house. In Sydney, it's closer to 13.8 times. What was traditionally considered manageable in the Western world is a ratio of 3 to 4, meaning it has over tripled in some markets in Australia. Over the last 5 years, Australian home values have jumped 39%, adding roughly 230,000 Australian dollars to the median dwelling. All the while, wages have crawled up only a fraction of that. In 2022, nearly 40% of homes were considered affordable for a median household with a median income. By late 2024, it's closer to 10%. Across the Pacific, in the United States, to afford a modest two-bedroom apartment, you need to earn $29 an hour on average. The federal minimum wage is only $7.25. For Canada, and I hope you're watching. Nearly 20% of Vancouver's housing stock is investor-owned.
It's unfortunate.
That's why you see dark condos at night. They're not eco-friendly smart bulbs. They're ghost landlords holding assets. People act as though the housing crisis just sort of happened, like inflation or the inevitable decline of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, when in reality, this was decades in the making. In some countries and instances, this was a result of policy choices. In the US, mortgage interest is deductible. Capital gains on homes are often untaxed. Zoning laws make 75% of the land single family only. If you own, you're rewarded. If you don't, you're a permanent renter. And in the Golden State, California, 82 to 95% of residential land is zoned as single-family use only, which is unfortunate because in the United States, California has what is widely considered to be the most impacted housing supply for single-family houses. In the UK, Margaret Thatcher's right to buy in the 1980s sold off millions of council homes, almost none of which were replaced. Affordable housing was gutted, and waiting lists got longer and longer.
All right.
The entirety of the housing crisis can't be chalked up merely to policy decisions, as speculation has also played a part. In London, estimates suggest that foreign investors own around 10 to 15% of new build properties, especially in prime areas like Kensington and Chelsea. A 2023 Guardian analysis found that nearly 1 in 3 homes built in central London since 2014 were sold to overseas buyers, with many left vacant or only occasionally used.
Right. What did he say?
Said how's his age, huh? He only chopped down because he couldn't see the view no more. What's in London?
What did he say?
Transparency International UK reported that over 87,000 properties across the country are owned by anonymous offshore entities, much of it concentrated in London. The result? Entire blocks of luxury flats sit half dark at night, functioning more like a safety deposit box than a house. Now, up until this point, we've focused mainly on the numbers, and while numbers do provide context about the overall scale of the housing crisis, there is a human element that we also need to talk about. Housing insecurity is strongly linked to anxiety, depression, and stress.
No shit, Sherlock.
Nothing says home sweet home like worrying every night about getting evicted from your apartment. A European study conducted by a journal known as Scientific Reports showed that financial well-being has a direct relationship on people's mental health. Naturally, people under high housing cost burdens report lower subjective mental health, in part because housing stress reduces their sense of financial security. And this sense of stress is very well founded, as the number of homeless individuals in the United States reached its highest it has ever been in 2023, with 653,000 people being estimated to be homeless. And in the UK, over 270,000 people were homeless or in temporary housing in 2024. Despite a record rise in productivity across the developed world, employment no longer guarantees you a roof over your head. And the last thing we'll discuss as we're talking about the human toll that the current housing crisis is inflicting is the generational divide. Home ownership for individuals under the age of 35 is down to 38% today from nearly 50% in the 1980s. Baby boomers could expect to pay 3 times their annual salary for a house. Today, it's 12 times. Yes, 12 times the annual salary in some places in the United States. There have been several solutions proposed to help alleviate the current housing crisis, but unfortunately, so many of them have not shown any significant progress. The Netherlands tried temporary rent caps, but the issue became that developers stopped building because their profits were capped. Oregon passed Bill HB 2001 in 2019 to allow duplexes, triplexes, and cottage clusters in single-family zones. California, meanwhile, passed Bill SB 9 to split lots and allow more units. And while these are steps in the right direction, the rollouts have been slow, and many HOAs have opposed them vehemently. And in other places, there are subsidies and vouchers, but unfortunately, these are often too small to matter. $10,000 grants don't close affordability gaps when the median homes cost $500,000 or more. And in many places of high property values, such as the greater Seattle metro area, houses can cost over $1 million easily. And in San Francisco, universities built academic villages offering student housing 10 to 25% below market value. But this created 2 problems, as the school was now simply a stand-in for their landlord, and this made many students used to an artificially deflated price market. Now, while this is a huge problem, of course, and many solutions haven't yet yielded the results that they need to, there is one positive example of a government enacting a program which has helped its citizens to find safe and affordable housing. And that comes from Singapore. In Singapore, over 80% of Singaporeans live in Housing and Development Board flats, HDB. The build-to-order system matches projects to demand. People book flats before they're built. And the grants for this program are generous. They can be up to 120,000 Singapore dollars for new flats and up to 230,000 Singapore dollars for resales. The flats are 99-year leases with resale restrictions to curb speculation and stop out-of-control price growth. The neighborhoods are planned with schools, parks, and transportation being an integral part of it, not thought of after the fact. And the older estates can be upgraded via what's called the Home Improvement Program, which is keeping the existing stock modern and livable. In Singapore, housing isn't a luxury, it's infrastructure like roads, water, and electricity. If nothing changes, millennials and Gen Z will own fewer homes than their parents did. Private equity firms like Blackstone already buy thousands of single-family homes. Housing as a subscription service looks to be what's next. But it doesn't have to be this way. The West could learn from Singapore. Countries could build public housing at scale. In the US, they could reform zoning so cities could actually grow. We could all offer serious subsidies to first-time buyers, and we could penalize ghost homes and speculative ownership. We could also maintain existing housing so stock doesn't decay. We don't have to replicate Singapore exactly, but the lesson is clear. If you treat housing like a utility, your society will benefit. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please like, subscribe, check us out on Patreon. I'm Jack, and this has been Timeless Headlines.